Hello and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that just saw Avengers Endgame. And I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think they should call it Avengers Endgame. I think they should call it Avengers Friend Game, because friendship won the day. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna go ahead and take a look at SpaceCorp, 2025 to 2300 AD from GMT Games. In SpaceCorp, 2025 to 2300 AD from GMT Games, one of four players takes on the role of a various corporation as these corporations attempt to take humanity to the various outer planets and then finally to the stars. Now, this is a kind of a space Euro game with a very interesting theme and a very interesting approach to how it accomplishes what it's trying to do. Let's take a look. The game takes place over the course of three different eras. First, you have the Mariners phase. This is where humanity is just taking its baby steps in the solar system, trying to get to places like Mars and its moons of Phobos and Deimos and the asteroids and what have you. Then the second phase you're going to play is the Planeteers phase. Now, during the Planeteers phase, you're trying to get to the outer planets of the solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, etc., etc. And finally, in the Starfarers phase, you're going to attempt to colonize nearby star systems. Now, the game, like I say, covers these three different eras. It's got three different game boards that you play on as the game evolves, but essentially the mechanics are more or less the same in each phase. Now, what you're going to do is each player has a player board. Your player board has a lot of different information on it. It's got 4 card slots. It's also got a kind of a track, a circular track that you're going to keep track of a couple of cubes on. And basically what you're going to be doing over the course of the game is taking actions to get you further and further into space. Now, all the players are going to start out kind of in the central location, which essentially is Earth, or, as it moves on, you'll have different locations. Now, you'll start out on that location, and then on your turn, you're going to play cards. You get a number of cards at the beginning of the game, and then there's going to be 4 offering cards along the side of the board that you will get a chance to take as the game progresses. You'll also draw cards at the end of your turn. Now, you're going to play these cards in very interesting ways. As I say, you've got those 4 card slots on your player board, and they kind of start with a research slot and a movement slot. Well, your cards are going to say different things like that: research, movement, explore, etc. And what you're going to do is some of these cards will say may be used as infrastructure. If the card can be used as infrastructure, you can place it down on one of those card slots. For instance, your base card, slot just says, I think, movement 1. Well, you can place that other card down there. If it says, movement 3 for infrastructure, then you automatically get a base movement of 3. You can also, if you place something down for infrastructure, also play similar cards that have that same action on it. Now, if you don't want to touch that, you can play other cards that all have the same action. Essentially, every turn you're only taking one action, but they're building on each other. You play as many cards as you want that just have that same action. Now, the different actions include research. Now, research, when you play it, allows you to draw cards from the offerings. You can play that card to get more cards, essentially. You've got movement. Now, movement's important because as you move around the board, there are different factors that are going to come into play. Essentially, it usually takes, you have to break free of a body's gravity if it's a bigger planet like Earth or Mars or some of these other planets, and that will cost you movement to get past its gravity. But as you move through different regions of the board, that will cost you movement as well, so it's better to have a higher base movement, as high as you can get to begin with. You're going to have Explore. Now, Explore is important because when you reach these other planets and asteroids and what have you, they're going to have a square space. Now, this space essentially is for exploring new tiles. And these tiles may have water, they may have life, they may have all sorts of different things. And you're trying to find these things. So you play Explore in order to get that. You'll instantly get a reward, and you'll also get the ability to build a base there. So you can take the build action. Now, the planets or wherever you're building on is going to tell you how many build points it takes to build there, just like it'll tell you how many explore points it takes to explore there. So you go ahead and you can build there, you play enough build cards, and there may be some mitigating factors there as well. But once you play all your build cards, you can build a base. There's different kinds of bases you can build. You can build a space base, which automatically, I think, gives you a +2 movement if you leave from there. You can build other kinds of bases that will exploit what you have. Indeed, in the later maps, you're going to have radiation. You can build like a radiation shield that will make you so you don't have to worry about radiation if you go ahead and take off from that world. You can also produce. Now, if you produce on on one of these planets or asteroids that has an explorer marker on there that you put, it will tell you essentially how many profit points you are going to make by producing. Then that kind of adds to your score. You can also research genetics. Genetics is going to let you move one of the cubes along your track, and that's going to give you bonuses as the game progresses as well. So you're going ahead, you're trying to build these new bases, you're trying to kind of get your profit score higher and higher. At the end of the first phase, you're trying to get, if you get some guys kind of out to the furthest reaches of the inner solar system, then you get an advantageous spot for the Planeteers phase. Same thing with the Planeteers phase. If you get them beyond the Oort cloud, you get an advantageous start for the Starfarers phase. Now, when you move into the Planeteers and the Starfarers phase, you're going to flip over the Mariners board, and it's going to have slots for different kinds of cards, different adaptations and research cards that you can research that are going to give you more bonuses as you're moving forward throughout the game. But when you get to these higher level boards, you're going to go ahead, you're going to colonize more. There's going to be a little bit more dangers, like that radiation belt I mentioned, and it's going to take you a little longer. For instance, on the Starfarers phase, as you're moving your stars, you can go to that, take your movement to that star, but then you have a track, and each turn you just advance one along that track to indicate the time it takes to reach that star. So you're going around and around, taking these various actions, building the bases, exploring these new and unique planets and stars, and then finally, when you reach an end of an era, you go ahead, you do some basic cleanup, and you get ready for the next era. Now, in the Starfarers era, you're also trying to build colonies. These are, colonies that you can build on, and there's even kind of some places where you can get outside of your local star system neighborhood. So once you go ahead, you do all of these things, and but at the end of the game, you're going to add up all of your points. Whoever has the most profit, who's ever made the most money in exploring the galaxy, is the winner of SpaceCorp. That is just a very brief overview of what this game has to offer. There is a ton of stuff here. This game is a big, big game. Now, you can play the scenarios. You can play just like a 1 or 2 scenarios. You don't have to play all 3. In fact, I played a game that was just the first scenario, and I decided, well, I wanted the whole experience. We went back, we played the whole thing. So I played this a few times now, and it's cool how you can customize it like that, how you can play kind of a shorter game. If you're just playing, for instance, the Mariners game, it's going to take you maybe an hour. If you play the full game, it could take you 3 to 4 hours. So be prepared. If you do the full game, it's a bit of a longer game. Now, the mechanics here are really cool, the way you play the cards, and they build upon each other, and how you place them. You can use them for infrastructure, but they build on. But every turn, there's always something to do. You've always got cards that let you do something interesting. There's also a time card that can kind of let you speed things up and kind of affect the way you're placing things. There's these edge cards that can give you special abilities and maybe screw over other people, some dirty tricks there. Like I said, there's just a ton of stuff going on here, and there's always something to do every turn of the game. Till about maybe the end, as the game is a round's winding down, maybe then there'll be a point where you got to pass. Once everybody's passed, that kind of marks the end of the round. But basically, this game is chock full of decisions, tough decisions. Do you want to move one of your guys here, or do you want to explore a base? Because if you explore a base, then maybe you can build a base. Or if you explore a site, you can build a base. But if you explore that site, if somebody else is already there on their turn, they can build the base. So you've got to kind of use some strategy here, and you got to use some. You got to be clever in the way you're developing the way you're playing your game, playing your cards, and colonizing space. This is a game that, I love science fiction games. I've always loved science fiction games. And this is a game that, just to look at it, initially I thought it sounded pretty cool, but I was a little leery of it because I thought, after reading it, it looked maybe like it was a little too Euro for me. It looked like maybe it was just a bit out of my comfort zone. But I read it, and I go, this is not too difficult. It's not too bad. I was leery because I had played a game years ago that will remain unnamed that I did not like at all. It was kind of the same subject matter. It was kind of the same idea of corporations going out into space, but it was too heavy. It was almost like you didn't make the game, you didn't make the science to fit the game, you made the game to fit the science, and I did not like that. It really threw me off. Here, you got a really good balance, and it's a great engaging way to engage with the science. It's a fun way to engage with the science, and I think they did that just really, really well. On the whole, I was really impressed with SpaceCorp. I really liked it a lot. I think it's a good, thinking, smart, intelligent space science fiction game. It's not space opera. It's more like hard sci-fi, and I just got a kick out of it. Everybody that I played it with liked it too. Like I say, I played it with a couple of different groups. Everybody liked it. Everybody had fun with this game, and I think you will too. If you like Euros, I think you'll like it, and if you like a strong science fiction theme, I think you'll like it as well. Very fun game. Really enjoy it. The recommendation for the Discriminating Gamer for SpaceCorp 2025 to 2300 is buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there were these two guys, and they're walking alongside the pier. And one looks up, and he sees a ship full of jewels, and he says, oh, that's nice, but it's not that valuable. He looks up at the other one, and he sees a ship filled with silver. He says, it's nice, but it's not that valuable. And they both together, they look up, and they see a third ship, and it's filled with gold, and they say, it's just not that valuable, because they knew the most valuable ship is friendship.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Oh, there's a game, oh, what you play it for? It's for having fun and learning about the Cold War. Your mind like a mental pack of sharks. We'll be putting people in their place like Karl Marx, spreading influence across the globe in one of the best stories ever told. Twilight Struggle, play it on the double. Communist troubles in Twilight Struggle. Some Jews would rather stay home with their girlfriends and snuggle, but I'd rather go and play Twilight Struggle.